patch notes and all that other stuff. Let me pull this up on stream for me. Why it died? Why did it die? I can only imagine why.
What is this video, Architect? This is so interesting. Jason Schreier posted a video. It's his only video. Why Destiny died.
One day back in 2000.
You want to know why it died? Because they haven't released any good expansions in a while, and then the only good expansions that they did release, people are fucking coping about it and saying that, you know, hey, this is a good, like, the Witch Queen. The Witch Queen sucked. I'm, like, the only person that thought Witch Queen sucked. The dungeons were locked behind a dungeon key that you had to pay separately for. I got into Witch Queen because of all the hype. I stopped playing after Forsaken. I came back to Destiny 2 during Witch Queen. And they basically were like, hey, Witch Queen's great now. It's so much better. Like, Destiny 2 is in a great place. And I jumped into Witch Queen. And I'm like, this is the exact same shit. I mean, Forsaken was good. Red War sucked. I felt like I jumped into, like, Witch Queen and I couldn't play anything except for the fucking campaign. Couldn't play seasonal content because I didn't buy the season pass. I couldn't play the dungeons because they were locked behind dungeon keys. I couldn't play all the which made sense. I couldn't play the previous expansion stuff. Nobody was playing Gambit. I really liked Gambit. I didn't want to play PvP because I didn't really care that much about PvP. The strikes were like the same 5 strikes over and over and over again. And I'm like, this is what the Destiny community considers a good expansion. So when I hear them saying that the final shape is good, I just think this is probably a mid-expansion because they're so used to getting, like, fed dog shit. So when I go, well, why did Destiny 2 die? Well, because there wasn't any good content for fucking ever. And when we get like, when the Destiny community gets mid-content, they think it's good content. Because they're coping. That's the only thing Destiny players know how to do is cope.
2014, 12 years ago, I was in the Kotaku offices down in Soho.
Ooh, not a great start. Kotaku reporter. Actually, did you say it was Jason? Hold on.
Jason Schreier
Oh, I know who this is.
posted a video. It's his only video. Why Destiny died.
One day.
Jason Schreier is weird because he's like the one journalist where I kind of go, he's known for his leaks. So I'm more because then wasn't he involved in the No Man's Sky leaks as well? For when that game was delayed. Maybe I'll just pull this up like all the way. Hold on a sec here. Because I just realized I'm just too focused on what I'm talking about and I'm not actually playing the game. So we'll just pull the fucking scene up full screen. Hold on a second here. I'll just close up Darkest Dungeon. Because I'm too focused on the video. I'm not actually playing anything. Because I don't have the brain capacity. Why is that small? Can you make it bigger, please? There we go. It's all bigger now. Hold that screen there.
Day back in 2014, 12 years ago, I was in the Kotaku offices down in Soho. It was September, and we got a bunch of game discs from Activision. And Tina Amini, who was an editor at the time, she said to me, hey, do you want a copy of this game, Destiny? We have a spare disc over here. I was like, sure, I'll check it out. I'll go pop it in for a half hour.
Who is this? Oh yeah, I probably didn't intro this right. This is Jason Schreier. Anytime he ever reports, and no offense, Jason, bad news, he's like the Grim Reaper when it comes to bad gaming news. It's like the fucking Starks. Well,
I mean, nobody really cares about good news when it comes to gaming shit. It's going to be bad news. But good news, it's releasing early. I don't think anybody's ever like reported on anything like that. Or if they did, nobody really noticed. I wouldn't go as far as saying Jason Schreier is the fucking Grim Reaper, though. He is pretty good at reporting when bad things happen in development now.
Is coming, and it always does, right? It always does.
It's not really my type of game. I don't really play first-person shooters, but I'll go check it out. And I brought it home and I popped it in, and 2 months later, I had roughly 500 hours in Destiny. It took over my life. It was a very special game to me for a lot of reasons. One is I played it with friends, with my colleagues, with Tina and Kirk, and a whole bunch of other people that I wound up becoming great friends with over the years. It was much more fun than I expected to be blasting Hive and Fallen and loot caves and going.
Okay, I love memory lane and all that, and thinking about the better times, but I need a little bit more to go off of than.
There are a lot of reasons for that. I'm sure one being
into the current space of Destiny 2, whereas they talk about those Nightfalls and the first time they did Vault of Glass and Crota. Some will speak fondly a little bit about Destiny 2, but normally.
Okay, can I talk about Destiny 1? I hated the fact that there was no matchmaking in Destiny 1 to do, like... I mean, there was, but it was like, I have to go off of the game to go find a group to do Vault of Glass. I really didn't fucking like that. I feel like there should have been resources in the game for me to find groups of fucking people. But that's just kind of a Destiny 1 issue. I don't remember if they fixed it in Destiny 2. They probably did. I don't know. But I just thought it was really dumb that I'm like, I have to go to a separate website to get groups of people to play Vault of Glass with me. I think I ended up getting a group of people to do Vault of Glass, but it wasn't because of the website. I think I just had... I had friends back in the day, you know that? You know what friends are like? Yeah, I had friends. And luckily, I had friends playing Destiny 2. Typically, you're not going to get that.
When they talk about Destiny 2, they talk about more of the issues. And that could be the case that the...
Here, let me put this on the other screen for me. That way I can actually see what's going on. Oh, fuck. When I do that, and then I make the... That's the problem with having two monitors that are completely different, like, sizes. Because then I have to keep fucking adjusting shit.
The game was just... Because that was the ongoing game that we were all playing. So...
I should... Let me see. Let's stay on that. Good. Okay.
So we were very much wrapped into the current space of Destiny 2. Whereas Destiny 1 was that nostalgic piece from the past.
There, just kind of simmering in the background. Just.
And ironically enough, the fucking nostalgia game is now the game that everybody's playing. Nobody's playing Destiny 2 anymore. Or there are obviously still players. You can go on the Steam chart, you're going to see people. But the vast majority of people are playing Destiny 1 right now.
It's that kind of friend that you know is always there. If you ever feel the urge to go back, you could always go back and check out what Destiny is up to. But alas, that was not to be, because last week Bungie announced that it was sunsetting Destiny 2. Destiny 2 will get one final update in early.
I just realized my mic is facing the opposite direction. I've been talking for 12 minutes with the mic not even fucking facing me. Alright, now I'm bass boosted and you can hear everything I'm saying.
June, and then it will be done. It will be in maintenance mode for the rest of its life. Bungie says that it will still be available to play, so you can still log in and check it out, but there will be no new content. And there's something really sad about that. There's something tragic about that. This is the first time in 12 years that there has not been a living Destiny game. The Destiny franchise is just not currently active. It is not currently alive. And what I can share and what I've reported at Bloomberg News is that there's no Destiny 3 currently in development. Right now, Bungie...
And why would there be? Can somebody that's not living off Cope tell me why a Destiny 3 would be in the works right now? I mean, sure, Destiny 2 has a track record of making money, but why would Sony produce a brand new game when they haven't really been doing a good job of maintaining Destiny 2? Why would they greenlight a Destiny 3? Doesn't make any sense.
Is pitching and prototyping. They're trying to figure out what's next, including future Destiny stuff. I mean, they could very well wind up working on a new Destiny game at some point, but there's nothing currently in the cards, which is really sad.
And if Marathon doesn't work out, there won't be. It'll just, the company will just die. I have no expectations for any Sony executives to stick their neck out to like try to save this game or save this company.
And I thought it might be worth getting a little bit into the history of the franchise and kind of trying to unpack why that's the case and why Bungie is in this position right now, which I think is very unfortunate for the studio and for the franchise. I also reported at Bloomberg last week that Bungie is preparing for a pretty significant layoff as a result of all this, which is also just tragic, and it just seems to never end in the video game industry over the last few years. And it's a real bummer to be writing about and covering and following. So
I don't understand. So I understand when you hear layoffs, it's bad. And typically it's bad. But when you are in a profession that has frequent layoffs, like every fucking year, it's like the California wildfires. You live in an area that burns down every single fucking year. I don't go there, and I wouldn't live there and be fucking surprised that my property burned to the fucking ground for the fucking 10th time in a row. I'd be like, fair enough. So I kind of wonder, hey, you're a developer in the industry. You know that they're going to lay you. You were just part of the previous Bungie owner lying about the worth of your company. I don't know how you didn't see the layoffs coming. I know that they're just going to say layoffs, and everybody's going to be like sad about that because, you know, poor developers. But when you're in the industry, you just kind of have to see that shit coming. Like, at what point do you just go, do you just do a surprise Pikachu face every single time that you get laid off? It's not like there's not work for these people. I imagine there'll be another like gaming company that'll be hiring in the exact same fucking area because they're all located in the same fucking place. Most of them are, anyways. I imagine they'll just do the shuffle, and they'll just move on to a separate company that's like right next door. So I'm just kind of go. At this point, I'm tired of the song and dance of layoffs, guys, layoffs. When I hear layoffs every fucking year now. I'll feel sad when if I ever find out that these developers are like homeless now, or they're like they've been financially devastated, but I don't think that's actually what's happening. I think they just move on to the next job.
Let's talk a little bit about the history of the franchise. It started around 2000 or late 2000s, let's say, when Bungie first started preparing what would become Destiny. At the time, for people who might remember, Bungie...
Yeah, when Bungie fled Microsoft to go to Activision. Fucking hilarious.
Had been making Halo games for Microsoft. They wound up spinning out of Microsoft and becoming an independent studio. And shortly after that, they signed a deal with Activision. That was this monumental deal. We know a lot about it because the contract details leaked out as part of all things, a Call of Duty lawsuit that was completely unrelated to Bungie, but this contract leaked out as part of that. And that contract stipulated a few things. It was, one, Activision would pay $500 million over the course of 10 years for the development of this game, these Destiny games, and two is that,
and then they blamed Activision. Don't get me wrong, Activision sucks, but they blamed Activision for what the executives at Bungie were fucking doing. We would find this out later when they split from Activision and they went back to being their own little game studio before they were inevitably purchased by Sony. But the fact of the matter is, all the awful shit that Bungie did was Bungie. But because Activision is the evil corporation, everybody defaulted to blaming Activision for all the faults that Bungie was doing. Granted, it could have been Activision, but seeing as though we're still in the same fucking place we were back then, I have no reason to believe that it was actually Activision causing all the issues.
It wasn't just one game. It was Destiny 1. It was kind of this cadence of alternating releases. It would be Destiny 1, and then the first big expansion, which they called Comet, and then Destiny 2, and then Comet 2, and Destiny 3, Comet 3, Destiny 4, Comet 4. And that was the cadence, right, at the time. Destiny wound up coming out in 2014 after some turbulent development, quite turbulent development that I wrote about at Kotaku about a year later.
Do y'all remember just hearing that number? I feel like that these numbers get thrown around every day now in the gaming world, but back in that,
does Jason Schreier still work for Kotaku, or does Kotaku even still fucking exist? The website still exists. Yeah, does Jason Schreier still work for? I spelled his fucking name right. Or Kotaku. Okay, he does not. He left in April of 2020. And he works for Bloomberg News now. Well, I don't know if he works for Bloomberg News still, but he moved to Bloomberg News in 2020. Okay. I was curious about that.
At time, 2014, when you heard $500 million, holy shit. I remember then I was like, oh my God, that's how much money is being spent. Holy shit. Whereas like today, I feel like,
yeah, where the fuck did that money go? I don't feel like that money was well spent.
Numbers get thrown around all over the place. I mean, hell, you saw how much Concord cost, which is crazy to me. Destiny 4, hearing that now is hilarious. Yeah, it definitely seemed like Activision wanted kind of like their same Call of Duty model overlaid for Destiny here.
And then
would that have been better though? Instead of what we got, where we have how many expansions now for Destiny 2? Would it have been better for them to do the thing that Blizzard did, where they just shuttered off all the DLCs as they move forward, or would it have been better just to make new games every year? Because effectively, that's what they ended up doing by sunsetting all the content. Is, well, we moved on to the next game because all the old content's gone now. It's like the ship of Theseus, but you're only removing stuff. You're not adding anything. You are adding like new stuff. Well, no, never mind. It is the ship of Theseus. So you have a ship of Theseus situation where, like, once you remove all the old content, you still have the same game.
And Destiny 2 was supposed to come out in 2016, but at the beginning of that year, Bungie announced that they were delaying it. I remember at the time breaking the news that it was going to be delayed, and a lot of people just kind of questioning that and challenging that. And
he always reports delays, and they always like freak out at him. That's like the only time where I feel bad for like a games journalist, because he's always right about the delays, and then they always freak the shit out at him.
Having to eat crow later when Bungie did confirm afterwards that it was going to be delayed. And so that game was delayed. It led to some heads rolling. Harold Ryan, who was president of Bungie at the time, wound up leaving as a result of that. And fun fact, Harold Ryan would then go on to start a company called Probably Monsters that would incubate a studio called Firewalk that would release a game called Concord under Sony.
Ooh. Oh, that's bad. Oh, shit. I like the fact that Cross had the exact same fucking reaction that I did.
Holy shit. I didn't know it was... Maybe
it would have been better just to get the fucking Jason Schreier video. than react to crosses, because I thought he would be, coping more, but I'm only at the beginning. I've spent 20 minutes on 9 minutes.
That connected. I knew there was Bungie devs related, but I didn't know it was that connected. Hot damn. That is crazy. At this point, we're kind of like cousins, distant cousin of Concord.
So it's all kind of full circle. Director of Concord, a man named Ryan Ellis, was actually the original director of Destiny 2. Then Destiny 2 was kind of not hard rebooted, but soft rebooted. And Luke Smith, who was the director of Taken King, took over that project and wound up shipping Destiny 2.
Remember, I got so fucking mad.
Let's say everyone that was connected to the double primary system / static roles inside of Destiny 2. I want to say they...
Who was the director of...
Okay, we had the Concord reveal.
Taken King took over that project and wound up shipping Destiny 2 in 20...
If I remember correctly, I want to say everyone that was connected to the double primary system / static roles inside of Destiny 2. I want to say they all ended up either being let go or departing. But again, I don't know where those ideas originated from. Like, I really am like curious, like who?
I never thought that the double primary shit was that bad. I mean, I understand. If you have two good actually, yeah, no, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's actually, I changed my mind. I prefer it if the purple slot is just the purple slot, and then the green slot's the green slot. I think what primaries now have infinite ammo. Back in the day, primaries did not have infinite ammo. So it makes sense when the primary had actual ammunition at the time to have two primaries. But now that the primaries have infinite ammo, I believe, I don't know, I haven't played Destiny 2 in a while. It makes no sense to have two primary slots anymore, because you're just going to use the one primary unless you're balancing buffs and shit.
Who was the person at Bungie who championed double primary system and who championed static roles? And arguably the static roles is the biggest, to me, was the biggest problem. Like double primaries, I didn't like it, but we could have worked around it if we had random roles. Someone came in there and said, you know what? Let's just do static roles. Everyone has the same drop. Everyone feels like a winner. And let's also only give everyone just one trait on their fucking gun. Terrible idea, dude. Terrible. For like a...
It's a fucking loot game. It doesn't make any sense to have the same fucking roles for everything. Borderlands doesn't even fucking do that. And they have more unique guns than Destiny 2. Why would you have the same fucking stats for the weapon if you're playing a looter shooter? You would want a better weapon for the drop.
A looter shooter? We're just a shooter now. It's not even loot anymore.
Yeah.
2017, in the fall of 2017. So anyway, so that delay, I mean, obviously did not please the folks at Activision, Bobby Kotick and crew. And then Destiny 2 came out, and the plan was to keep going. But at a certain point, there started to be conversations at Bungie about the logic behind releasing a Destiny 3 and rebooting characters once again, forcing people to start from scratch for a new game, and also the just kind of the unsustainability of the pace of creating content and making new things in this world, because Destiny's tools and engine are actually pretty tough to work with. I've written about that quite a bit back at Kotaku and in my first book, Bloodsweat and Pixels. It can be a struggle to iterate on content, to create content, to move things around, to create stuff. It takes a really long time. That's true in a lot of game development, to be fair, but proprietary tools, I think, can have all sorts of challenges depending where you are and what you're trying to do. So eventually there was this big conversation. I mean, there were a lot of meetings. Bungie was trying to decide what to do next. Activision has its own ideas of what to do. Activision, you have to understand, as a publisher, before it was acquired by Microsoft, it was run.
Imagine if they stayed with Activision only to be back under the fucking purview of Microsoft. I think that would have been funny. That's a funny what if scenario. After Bungie leaves Microsoft only to end up back at Microsoft.
by, of course, Bobby Kotick, who believes very strongly in annualizing releases, what he calls exploiting franchises, which is you take a franchise and you release as many games as possible. There's this great story that I heard from one guy who was telling me that they were in a Guitar Hero meeting. I read about this in Play Nice. They were in this Guitar Hero meeting, and Bobby was like, "Yeah, that plan is great, but like, you know what? I want a new Guitar Hero game every quarter, and then I want one every month," which I think is testament to how Bobby Kotick operated. And so they weren't really familiar with this idea of like a
Goddamn Satan, you hear me? What the fuck?
service game, a game that you wouldn't annualize, a game that you wouldn't keep sequelizing, and instead you would just update that one game. But Bungie, they felt like Destiny 2 could be a really good service game if they just kept adding to that instead of making a sequel right away. So eventually those
but they ended up, removing stuff instead. So in a way, they ended up just doing the model that Bobby Kotick wanted, because they ended up sunsetting content, and you didn't just ended up just adding stuff; you ended up removing stuff too.
conversations led to a divorce, and Bungie and Activision split up. Bungie wound up keeping Destiny, and they had the rights as the publisher to turn. They could essentially say, "Hey, we're not going to do Destiny 3. We're going to turn Destiny 2 into a service game." And at that point, they said, "We're not doing Destiny 3." At that point, around that point, they were also like incubating other stuff and thinking about all sorts of other projects, including what would eventually become Marathon 2. 2019 is when that happened. The beginning of 2019.
Do you think when they made Halo Infinite, they were looking towards Destiny 2 and thinking, well, we can do that. We can be like them. I mean, that game ended up being a fucking massive failure anyways, and the story's all over the fucking place. But I can't help but wonder if they got the idea from, like, to make a live service game that they update every year, they add new shit to, from Bungie and Destiny 2.
Later that year, they actually took Destiny 2 free to play, which was another big move in turning it into this kind of forever game. This
free to play. Yeah. And not have access to fucking anything. Let's not fucking kid ourselves here. It's a fucking monthly subscription. You do not have access to seasonal content unless you buy the season pass.
Live service game. A couple years later, they were purchased by Sony as they're like continuing to release updates for Destiny. They lay out a whole roadmap one year. I think it was 2020. They said, here are the next 3 expansions. This is what this.
Dude, y'all remember that? Did y'all remember seeing that banner where it was like, this is the future? You saw Beyond Light. You saw Witch Queen. You saw
Beyond Light, I heard, was fucking terrible. Lightfall was terrible. Witch Queen, I played, and I thought it was fucking mid as shit. And people thought that was the fucking great, like, the return of Destiny 2. I do not understand. Yeah, it just goes back to what I said. They make really shitty fucking expansions, and then they get a really, like, mid one, and everybody's, like, happy that they got something really mid.
Lightfall. I don't even think Final Shape was on that one. But god dog it, man. I was so hyped. I was like, oh my god. We were all speculating. We were like, ooh, what is this one gonna mean? What is that? Oh, what is Lightfall? Which ended up being the worst one.
This is gonna look like. They wound up getting purchased by Sony in 2020. Let me look this up to make sure I have it correct. 2022. They wind up getting purchased by Sony.
Not even, 2 years after they got purchased by Activision? When the fuck did that... They left... When did Bungie separate from Activision? Now I gotta look that up. He said it in the fucking video, but I forgot while I was watching. What does it say? I know where they separated from. That wasn't the question. Uh, 2018. Never mind. I'm 2 years off. So that it was 4 years since they separated from Activision when they decided to join hands with
for $3.6 billion, which seems like an extraordinary amount of money because it is, but some context that you should 2022, they wind up getting purchased by Sony for $3.6 billion,
which was a fucking mistake. Which was a very big mistake.
Seems like an extraordinary amount of money because it is, but some context that you should have here is that this was an era of zero interest rates and free money, and it was more valuable to go and spend your money than it was to keep it in the bank because you weren't making anything off of it in the bank, and you could just take out loans for free, and everything was going crazy. I mean, Zynga was purchased by for close to $13 billion at this point by Take-Two. Activision Blizzard was bought, of course, for $69 billion.
Massive.
So everyone was just throwing around money all over the place.
Bethesda too. I don't know when did Bethesda get bought, guys. When did Bethesda get bought? And I think Bethesda was almost $10 billion. Was it 2021 that Bethesda got purchased?
So it was a crazy time. So Sony buys Bungie and they're all jazzed up. But something happened.
Did my fucking live stream die again?
Starts to really decline, and over the next couple of years there's some hits and misses for
Dude, I'm gonna have to fucking, when I put that on the VOD channel, I'm gonna have to stitch all that shit together. I'm gonna have to recover all of that fucking video and I'm gonna have to stitch it together, and it's gonna be such a fucking, it's not gonna be that big of a pain in the ass, but still, that's fucking annoying.
sure in terms of expansions, but the player base is just not where it needs to be for Bungie and for Sony and for Destiny as a franchise. And they ultimately wind up putting an end to the kind of the 10-year, what they call, what is it, the Darkness Saga or the Witness Saga or something like that, with this expansion called the Final Shape that really feels like a cap on Destiny 2 and the story that people have been following for a very long time. This is very well received. People seem to love it. The Final Shape goes over really well.
That's cool and all, but I don't think anybody understands what the fuck the story is anymore at that point, because they've deleted large chunks of the story, or you can't access large chunks of the story anyways, because some of the parts of the story are behind seasonal content. I can't access the seasonal content to see the story. So them saying, well, Lightfall was well received, well, with the story, it's a great conclusion. I'm like, I wouldn't know. I can't access the story anymore.
But at this point, we've kind of hit this turning point, the post-COVID slump of the games industry. There are some big layoffs, and Bungie is in a really struggling period at this point. I believe it had 2 big layoffs over the course of a couple of years. They wind up canceling this incubation project that they were doing called Payback. That was a Destiny franchise thing. It was going to be this third-person kind of like Genshin Impact style inspired project that Luke Smith was helming with executive producer Mark Noseworthy. That winds up getting...
Okay, so they did have shit in the pipeline. They just didn't use any of it. I thought they didn't have anything, period. It's just that it all got canceled before Sony bought them.
Canceled. And at this point, I think the big question, or I guess what fans assumed, was that after the Final Shape, since Destiny 2 felt like it was at its natural endpoint, that there would be a Destiny 3 that started to spin up.
We've heard all kinds of rumors about Destiny Payback. I've heard rumors that it was, in fact, going to be a sequel. I've heard it was going to be the next evolution of Destiny. Honestly, it could have been something like Destiny Rising related, as Luke Smith worked directly with NetEase on that, but it would be on consoles and PC as well. So heard a lot of different things. What we do know is every time Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy, think about how many times you've seen them in Vidocs. What did those 2 guys represent? Future. Now sometimes the future.
So there's only really 2 scenarios. It either becomes a Genshin Impact game where you're gambling, which would make sense if you're trying to make money off your customers, or it'll end up just being a fucking Warframe clone. Because the only difference at this point between, well, I shouldn't say that. There's a lot of differences. But you just end up with, like, the whole big difference between Warframe and Destiny 2 is the fact that one's a first-person game and the other one's a fucking third-person game. They're both shooters, but one's Destiny 2 definitely has the better fucking shooter. Is a better shooter. I like Warframe more than Destiny 2, but I will admit that Destiny 2 is a better shooter. And I would argue that is, in terms of the shooter part of the game, it is the best shooter to ever exist. The gunplay feels really good in Destiny 2. And it's kind of a shame that the game just sucks so much that I can't enjoy the one aspect of the game that I actually like.
Didn't hit. Sometimes their vision may not be the best, but I'm not gonna lie, dude. Normally when they were on the screen, there was a little bit of a hype factor always involved, right? You always knew that they were working on something. They were cooking up something for the future. We saw that last conversation piece from Luke Smith going into the final shape where he reassured us and he just said it so confidently where he was like,
but facing the witness is not the end of Destiny 2. And it's definitely not the end of Destiny.
Nope, we're gonna copy Star Wars. We're gonna make a Star Wars expansion. That's the natural continuation of Destiny 2 after the final shape is to become Star Wars. We're Star Wars now. You remember Star Wars, guys, right?
Destiny. After you face the witness, we're going to tell you what's coming next to Destiny 2 and beyond. We'll see you soon.
that was the last time we ever heard from Luke. I always wanted to know what they were going to talk to us about. And you could tell, like, Luke and Mark Noseworthy and these other people, like, they obviously didn't even want to see Destiny die because they've been commenting. They've actually, Luke Smith, who never posts anything on X, was actually commenting about Destiny 2. And we'll pull those up here in a little bit.
At that point. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about doing a Destiny 3. It's extremely expensive. The prices of making games, the budgets of making games have gone up so extraordinarily and exponentially over even the last 5 years, let alone the last 15 years since Destiny first started, that like what was a $500 million, this is me estimating and pulling numbers out. So like, don't hold to, this is not an exact science or reporting or anything, but like, just to kind of put this in context, the $500 million that Activision spent on Destiny as an entire like 10-year plan for multiple games and expansions, I think 4 games and 4 expansions at the time, that was like supposed to be $500 million. That would be what it would take to make a Destiny 3 from scratch, essentially. And that's like before marketing. So we're talking about crazy amounts of money. And that is for a very good reason, which is that salaries have to go up because cost of living have gone up. And Bungie is, even though Bungie is a remote first studio, their office and a lot of their people are based in the Seattle suburbs, which is extremely expensive. Any coastal city is.
I was gonna say something smart-assy. Couldn't they have just, copied everything from Destiny 1? Like they did at the beginning of the game for Destiny 2? Just copy and paste it. Granted, the fucking shit in Destiny 2 looks a lot worse than the fucking shit in Destiny 1. But I'm like, they just kind of copy and pasted a lot of this shit and just from Destiny 1 into Destiny 2. Like the moon. Actually, the moon's different in Destiny 2, slightly. I think the starting area is different. And then, like, the Earth, that entire zone is basically the exact same copy and pasted into Destiny 2, with, like, the skybox being shittier. What else did they copy and paste? Basically, I think Mars was copy and pasted at the beginning of Destiny 2. Why couldn't they just copy and paste Destiny 2 into Destiny 3 and just edit it slightly? I mean, I think people misunderstand. Like, coding is difficult, but the 3D landscapes are going to be basically untouched from, like, program to program. I don't think there's, at least in my experience, I don't do high-level fucking, like, game programming shit, but in my experience, you can largely just take assets from one game and put them into the next game and basically have nothing go wrong. I mean, there might be some stuff with like linking assets and stuff like that, but that's all the programming. Like the asset, like the 3D model itself, you should be able just to copy and paste it. Unless like it's an in-house like
software that they just kind of fucked up. That's the only instance where I go, maybe it's just the programmer. I don't see how they fuck that up. I don't understand. Because they all use, like, all of the fucking 3D models are basically the exact same. I imagine they use Blender or some shit. They use their in-house thing where it's all the same files, they're all read the exact same way. I don't see in any instance where they can't just copy and paste 3D models. So that's why when I heard that what happened to Red War, what happened to Forsaken, and I just kind of assume either one, they lost the rights to use that content, or B, they just deleted all of it. Because I don't really believe the excuse that they couldn't have just copy and pasted Red War and Forsaken back into the game. Sure, it would have looked shittier in those areas because they updated like the graphics and all that stuff. But I don't think that excuse really works. I'm fine with an older area looking like dog shit. That's perfectly fine with me. That makes sense. I don't think any person is going to be unreasonable about the fact that older areas of the game look old. I don't go into like FF14 and expect A Realm Reborn to look super high fidelity like the end of Endwalker. I'm not expecting that shit to look the same. Or to look like, I'm not expecting A Realm Reborn to look exactly like Endwalker in terms of quality.
Is very expensive to make games in these days, which is why we're seeing a larger trend of game developers moving out of the US, out of North America, which maybe I'll talk about in a future video. I'm a YouTuber now. And so that's a problem. And I think Sony, especially after the last couple of years and not quite hitting where they want to hit with some of these games, having to cancel a lot of projects, lay off a lot of people, I think don't have the appetite.
Okay, I'm stupid as shit, but I don't remember where Seattle is. Oh, it's in Washington. So it's on that upper left border. Yeah, that entire fucking area is expensive as shit. I don't understand why.
For that kind of expenditure.
Just don't live on the coast.
Certainly not in 2024.
Okay, I'm gonna give a big reveal here. There is fucking fiber internet all over the fucking vast lands of America. You do not have to live in you don't have to host your company in fucking Seattle or any of these like tech areas. You don't have to actually have your company in those areas. You could just move to fucking North Dakota. You could just have your company based in Texas. You could have your company on the other side of the fucking country if you wanted to. They do not have to be on California, Washington, and Oregon. They don't have to be on that coast. It's not a requirement. I mean, I imagine they probably have it there. Like Sony has their headquarters there because it's next to the ocean. You can get their head company in Japan doesn't have to fly to the other side of the country when they need to send a guy to like inspect the company. So for like Asian companies living like on the East Coast, or I get my East and West mixed up. Like Asian companies in California make sense because they're closer to Asia. So their executives don't have to fly as far, you know? But with like American-based companies, or even, I'm thinking of BioWare. I don't know why I was going to make that comparison. But with North American companies, don't have to work in California. They don't have to work in Washington. They could just move their company to Texas or one of these cheaper to like operate southern states. And they already are leaving. Like companies in California and Washington are leaving those states to go find cheaper states to have their company in. So I mean, yeah, sure, it is expensive to be in Seattle and all that stuff, but they don't really have to have their company in that area.
and certainly not now. So the idea of them spending $500 million again before marketing, which could be, who knows, another 100 million, I have no idea, but like that's a crazy amount of money, and the the number of copies you would have to sell to make a profit on that is pretty high. It's pretty significant. So yeah, so we're talking about a climate where like it wasn't really.
Not only would you have to sell a lot for whatever price range you decide to settle your your fucking game at, it's probably gonna be $60. But you know, most companies are making their games like fucking $70-$80 now. You could. I'm gonna go on a side rant here because I just had this thought. I hate the fucking people back in the day that were justifying like games being $70-$80, because you know, art and all this other stuff has advanced and it costs more money to do all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, but there's more people playing games now. They have more than made up the money that they would have been they're losing on all these new like technologies by volume. Sure, it's still $60 like it was fucking years ago, but the amount of people buying games have increased a fucking tremendous amount. They are making up their money in volume. So back in the day, it made no fucking sense for like it was, you had a right to be upset. I mean, you probably still have a right to be upset now when they increase the price of a game, because they're making up their money in volume. Stupid people don't understand that, yeah, it costs the same amount, and the company giving you the reasoning is probably fucking lying. They have more than made up their money in volume. But stupid people just go, well, it's you know, there's technology. They said it was the technology. They said it costs more to make the game, so it makes sense that they have to make the game cost more. I was like, no, they are making more money now than they were making that, you know, all those years ago, because more customers have showed up. They are making hell of a fuck tons of money just on sheer volume. They don't have to increase the price of fucking games for the most part, because the volume is so significant. I understand you're like, if you're selling a game to a fucking niche audience, you're not going to have a lot of customers. The game costs a fucking shit ton to make. I understand, like, in those small instances where you're like, I'm selling to a niche audience, I'm not going to be able to sell to the larger market. I'm going to make significantly less money per copy if I don't increase the copy of the game. In those instances, I kind of go, okay, sure. Most of these companies are not going to be making projects for a niche audience. They're going to be making their projects for a wider audience. That has been the goal for every corporation for a while now. Is I want to make my game open to as many people as humanly possible so I can get the most money I can for volume.
Possible for them to get Destiny 3 off the ground. So instead they have this loose plan of like, okay, we're going to take Destiny 2, we're going to keep doing updates and expansions, like smaller scale expansions than Final Shape, and hopefully we're going to make it more approachable to people. That's kind of the vague, like, long-term plan, is find a way to maybe make it easier for new players to come in, because that was a big problem in Destiny 2. It still is, that if you log in as a new player, it is completely overwhelming and intimidating.
You would have to completely overhaul the beginning of the game again. They would have to remove that copy and pasted section that they stole from the first game. Like, the entire start of Destiny 2 would have to be completely ripped up from its fucking roots and thrown in the garbage and then started over. I still think it was dumb going into Destiny 2 from Destiny 1, getting the same fucking intro, and going into Red War. It made no fucking sense. I would have much preferred that, you know, that they had like an actual transition into Red War. It just feels like there's a jump cut into Red War. So that's like one of my bigger gripes, is why didn't you just have like an actual intro to your game and not just copy and paste the intro from the first game? It felt like, even when the game first came out, that intro for Destiny 2 felt fucking janky as shit.
And most of the story has been stripped out because they actually had to remove content over the years, for, I believe, believe they said because it would take too much of space on your hard drive if they.
Remember when the evil corporations were like, we want our game to take up as much space on your hard drive as fit humanly possible, so that you're only playing the one game? I fucking hate this. Yes, the game will take a lot of space on your hard drive. What do you think DLCs are? They're just downloadable content. Every time I download a fucking DLC, it's going to take up more space on my hard drive. Do they think people are fucking stupid? Yeah, I'm going to expect Destiny 2 to be fucking massive because I keep adding thousands of fucking expansions to this fucking game. Well, not thousands, but you know what I mean. The fucking I'm adding content to the game. Of course, it's going to take up more and more space to my fucking hard drive. Do they just think people are fucking stupid? Yes, we know. We're fine with that. I don't want you deleting the content that I paid for out of the game because it will take up more space in my hard drive. I don't care. I have a brain. I know that, the more fucking downloadable content, the more shit's going to be on my fucking hard drive. I can think.
Like, they kept everything in there. So they removed a bunch of expansions over the years and content that was in the game. So at that point, I mean, and also Bungie was putting all of their effort, all their resources into Marathon, which would launch a couple of years later. So at that point, Destiny is in this really weird position where...
And again, if this is just a money-making scheme, like if they were trying to do FOMO, it makes no sense. You are so fucking... It's apparently so fucking difficult for you guys to make new content for this game. Why didn't you just keep the old content in the game and then milk it fucking dry? And then just keep milking it. You would have made more money milking the fucking old content than you would making new content. You would have more time to make new content if you have the old content there. Because I imagine the Destiny 2 players would be more than happy to play the old content over and over and over and over again.
It seems to have ended, and most certainly casual fans look at it and say, oh, okay, the final shape, Destiny 2 is over, but it's still going. And then throughout 2025, it gets a couple more just kind of updates, including a Star Wars themed update, and none of them really hit the way that final shape did, that's for sure. And Destiny 2's player base is dwindling pretty significantly. So now we're at this point where we are now, which is that Bungie decided...
I think I was confusing final shape with Lightfall when I was talking about it earlier. It doesn't matter, but I just thought I'd bring that up.
Earlier this year, a few months ago, they knew that this was going to happen, that this was going to be the last update in June. So where are we now? Now, Bungie, I think a lot of people there are hoping for the best, bracing for layoffs. Obviously, they want to keep Marathon going. They just announced Season 2. They just released a trailer, for Season 2.
They don't want to keep Marathon going. They have to keep Marathon going. They don't have a choice. They threw all of their eggs into one basket and they have to live with the consequences. Let's not say that... Let's not lie to ourselves and say they want to work on Marathon. They have to work on Marathon. Because Sony is going to make them work on a Marathon because that's what they decided that they were going to focus on.
Earlier this morning, and they're just trying to figure out what's next. They're pitching, they're prototyping Destiny stuff. At least one other interesting thing they're pitching and prototyping, and I just don't know what happens from there. It's very hard to imagine, again, Sony being willing to say, okay, yes, we will greenlight this $300, $400, $500 million project in this market. And I mean, another piece of context that I didn't even mention, but I think if you follow the games industry, you probably know, is just that it's so hard for pretty much any game to hit in this market. I mean, we're talking about an influx of, just this week as I'm recording this, we have like Meat of the Hollower and 007 First Light, these two killer games, like incredible games, all coming out, just surrounded by...
The fucking memes for that 007 game were fucking hilarious. I don't even fucking remember half of them off the top of my head. I just remember going through Instagram like, oh, that's funny. Oh, he drives a fucking Subaru. Oh, I see. I understand.
An influx of other smaller games that most people have never heard of. I mean, there's so many games. I believe on Steam it was more than 20,000 games were released last year, just to put things in perspective.
I definitely feel like we live in a world right now, and it's good for us as gamers, because we just want good games. But yes, the AAA studios, I think they're getting spanked, man. Now, does that mean studios like CD Projekt Red, Rockstar, GGG, Digital Streams, does that mean those studios are going to suffer? No, because they have very embedded communities and they make good games. You know where I'm coming from? It's just that in this day and age, if you can't be exceptional, especially at the budgets that AAA studios now have, you're going to get creamed, man. I mean, you're going to get messed up. And I think not that people would have played Concord 10, 15 years ago, but there is actually a world in which Concord wouldn't have had as many options, maybe many competitors. And
you know what year I think Concord probably would have succeeded? It was 2016. I think a whole bunch of angry people would have played Concord out of spite. I think 2016 is where Concord would have thrived.
maybe it wouldn't have died as fast. You know where I'm coming from? But today we just have so many, not just even good options, exceptional options to turn to.
And then on top of that, a lot of people are just sticking with their old games, Fortnite and Minecraft and Roblox and Call of Duty, games that are just forever. Destiny used to be kind of up there with those, but has lost a lot of players as a result of the stuff I was talking about. So it's very difficult to imagine Sony being willing to spend, to greenlight a budget that will take us through the next 5 years or whatever it takes to make a Destiny 3.
I just don't know what the plan, like what's the plan? Like what's Sony's long-term plan? All right, we don't make...
To make the value of the company close to what they paid for. They don't know how they're going to do that, but that's the goal, is, you know, value on investment. That's kind of why they gave them the ultimatum that, you know, pick one game and that's the game you're going to be fucking focusing on. They want a return on their investment in the company.
A Destiny 3. How are you going to make back what you've already put in? With Marathon? You think you're going to make it back with Marathon? There ain't no way. The other side of things is too, it's like you hired Bungie or you bought Bungie for their IPs, for obviously the consistent revenue flow. That's why live service games are appealing, but also for their live game expertise. You're making the experts destroy their own game, and not even like a game, the game. Like what the f? They look at the people at the age between 18 and 22.
I don't think that Sony made Bungie destroy Destiny 2. We have information now that the developers didn't even fucking know that they weren't going to be making Destiny 2 anymore. This isn't like, oh, Sony's here with a gun to the developer's head. Like, you're going to kill Destiny 2 right here, right now. Like, no, that's not what they're doing. They've decided that Destiny 2 is not worth investing more money into, and a new IP is definitely not worth putting more money into. I don't know how much the potential projects they were starting up had a say in the value of the company. Like, I don't know if when whoever was in charge of acquiring Bungie, how much of that was, oh, there's a whole bunch that, yeah, there's value in Destiny 2. You just released Marathon. There's some money to be made there. But and you have more projects. You have more projects that we could potentially make money on, only to find out that there are no fucking projects to make money on. They just don't exist. Like, I'm fine with, you know, I've lost my train of thought. I've thrown it out the fucking window. But I'm sitting here. I'm listening. Like, it's Sony. It's Sony's fault. We're back to the fucking Activision shit. It's Sony's fault that Bungie is fucking up. It's Activision's fault that Bungie's fucking up. Are we seriously back at this cope? We do this like every time like Bungie has a run-in with a fucking publisher. I'm glad the Destiny 2's fucking dead. Now these motherfuckers can find something else to do. Besides cope about their fucking game all the time.
They want what those people want to play across. I cannot tell you, and I have actually been in these meetings where they talk about demographics. And yeah, they really are doing everything they can to target that demographic, that younger, pre-adult, late teen. They really want to hack into that. But look, can I just say this?
Hello, my fellow kids. That's what they're going for. Is that what the fuck was the name of the actor when he comes around the corner with a skateboard over his back? He goes, "Hello, my fellow kids."
I actually don't have numbers to back this up, but I actually don't know how much like hardcore gaming the younger generation is even doing, guys. Like just in general. Like I don't really know how much gaming they're most of the time. So think about the influencers online that are gaining traction. You know what I mean? The IRL streamers and those spaces. It almost seems like that's like the direction that younger generation is kind of going more into. If I go talk to my brothers who are 23 and 21, or I guess now 24 and 22, and I ask both of them, have you ever played an MMORPG? One, they may not even know what an MMORPG even is. And two, I guarantee you they have not. You see where I'm coming from? Whereas like we grew up playing, like we wanted to invest in big MMO games. We wanted to make.
How far? I fucking hate RPG now. I hate the term RPG because it fits fucking everything now. It's a blanket term now. When I think RPG, I think like Oblivion. I think things where you add stats. You're doing stuff. I sit here and I hear Monster Hunter is an RPG. Destiny 2 is an RPG. I go, I suppose you're affecting stats in Destiny 2 based on your equipment. I suppose there are skills and stuff in Monster Hunter that you change based on the equipment you're wearing. I just kind of go, at what point does an RPG stop being an RPG? Does it stop when, like, numbers are no longer involved? Or is it just because, like... That's a philosophical question. Yeah, where the fuck does that end? I'm actually kind of curious. I want to know, like, is it just when the numbers become static? Is that when RPGs stop being RPGs? I mean, I understand that it stands for role-playing game. But when me and other people think RPG, we're thinking about, like, creating a character, adjusting the stats, having traits, all this other stuff. At what point does an RPG stop being an RPG? I don't really consider Destiny 2 an RPG. I think it's a fucking first-person shooter that has stats in it. But I don't consider those stats RPG mechanics. Like, do I have to consider a game an RPG because it has fucking buffs in it? Or equipment? I'm just kind of curious where the fucking line is, to be honest.
AR games. We loved MMORPGs. We loved games that had these social aspects, these communities, and Destiny was one of those that had its own like way of facilitating its community, albeit not quite true MMO feel, although I guess you can call it MMO. I think if you came up to a kid right now, like when I say a kid, like, a kid that's 19, and you were like, hey, here's this game called RuneScape. You see that tree, that willow tree? You're gonna chop it for 250 hours. Have fun. That kid would be like, that. The hell is this shit? You know where I'm coming from? They would make it all of 60 seconds. And they'd be like, yeah, I'm good, dude. But I will say this. The generation that plays these kind of games that we play, primarily Destiny, we're starting to have kids, okay? I done had 3 of them. Probably gonna have a 4th. Many of you have children. Now, what are we going to tell our children as they get older? Your kids run to you and they say, Father, could you introduce me to a great game? And they're gonna go through the library and they're gonna be like, oh, what's this? What is this game? Destiny 2. Now, there's 2 reactions. Reaction 1, the father pulls it out, says, oh, yes. Well, I play Destiny 3 right now. But yes, this is also one of the classics from one of our beloved studios.
You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna would you kindly my kid. I'm gonna tell him, would you kindly do this? Would you kindly do that? I'm gonna spend like fucking years doing that, and eventually I'm gonna make him play the first BioShock. I'm gonna have him activate like a fucking sleeper agent.
That's option 1. Or option 2, they say, no. Child, never look upon that name Destiny, ever. That name Bungie you just saw, never speak it in this household ever again. We do not play Bungie games here. Now let's go play Call of Duty. That could be the future. That could be it. Definitely the second one. Yeah, I think that because my son is growing up now, he's been interested in Destiny. You know, this younger generation, you know, I'm just saying to the corporate overlords out there that are trying to make these calls, think long term here, okay? From thy balls will children arise, and those children will grow up and join the gaming world, okay? They too could potentially become thy Bungie gamers, thy Destiny gamers. It's short-term profit or nothing.
That said, I mean, I don't think that Sony is planning on shutting down Bungie anytime soon. At least, God, I hope not. I think there is maybe.
I hope they will. I've started my fucking villain arc. I've gotten so used to the gamers going like, don't pay for that game, you know, because we don't want that type of stuff to be pushed. We don't want loot boxes. We don't want season passes. We don't want XXX, we don't want blah blah blah, you know, and then they still swipe the fucking credit card. They still swipe that fucking credit card. They go here and they tell me about all the fucking moral issues with everything, and they still swipe their fucking card. At this point, I'm on the opposite end going like, yeah, corporations, keep fucking the gamers. Keep fucking them. I don't want them to be able to fucking stand for the next fucking several years. Like, goddamn. Are we serious? We're at this point because you motherfuckers couldn't stop buying the fucking games. You walked up to the slot machine and you kept fucking pulling the fucking wheel and a surprised Pikachu face when all the fucking games are dog shit now. Can we be like fucking serious at all? At what point do I just jump to the other side of the fucking aisle and I start fucking working with the corporations to keep fucking you? Why shouldn't I? Clearly, the one side of your brain ain't communing with the other side of the fucking brain because you keep fucking paying for the shit that you say is fucking evil as shit. Why? Why would anybody, like, why, okay, here's the thing. Why would a fucking corporation listen to you? They get the fucking paycheck either way. The check doesn't bounce. The check still reaches their bank account. They still get $60. Why the fuck would they give a two shits about what the fuck you're saying? If their fucking bank account's full. I'm sitting here like, blah, 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 blah. And my fucking, I got $300 million in my fucking bank account. Why the fuck would I listen to you? Clearly, you're just going to pay for the thing that you're bitching about anyways. So clearly, your words don't matter. Why would I give a shit what you say if you're just going to give me $60 regardless? Makes no sense. It makes no sense to be like, at this point, I'm rooting for the corporations. We've completely lost the fucking plot. It's done now. The war is lost. Sure, we got the new Stop Killing Games initiative, and I hope, I pray that works out. But unfortunately, we're at the point where we're just kind of dealing with the consequences of our actions, aren't we there, pals? Those are the choices you made. You decided to open your wallet, and you paid for the dog shit. Guess what? You're getting more dog shit.
Room for smaller scale projects, for less risky bets, for games that won't cost that kind of money, and maybe they wind up doing what everybody else is doing, what their kind of successor Halo Studios is doing, and doing a lot of outsourcing, a lot of co-dev, a lot of working with cheaper studios to try to save money. But this problem of budget swelling and the market not
contract your way to success. Yeah, that totally worked out for him.
Growing to account for that is something that I think helps explain a lot of the video game industry's current woes. You have this kind of confluence of awful factors, which is just that games are more expensive to make. Games are not selling any much better than they did a few years ago when games were less expensive to make. And at the same time, everything is more expensive for consumers, and people can barely afford groceries and gas, let alone to spend $70 on a new video game. So there needs to be some big changes, and I expect that Bungie will find a way to navigate this. I certainly hope they do. But yeah, I mean, I'm bummed about this. I have been for the last week since the news came out. Destiny holds a special place in my heart. I spent a lot of time with it. I met a lot of great friends through it. And one more story I'll share real quick is that Destiny is responsible for me being an author. In 2015, I wrote a big story about Destiny 1's development and why the story was as kind of and then positive and good. And
I'm glad that you got an epiphany, Jason, but I kind of would like some other opinions here.
Now, so
it happens, man. You know, I'm gonna be such.
I was expecting Cross to talk more. I thought I'd have some more shit to push on him about, but he didn't really fucking talk. I ended up talking about fucking Jason more than I talked about whatever he had to say.